What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Vindication Sports. I'm your host, Jackson Hester. And I know it's been a little bit since we've spoken last. I believe it was before anything really came out. I made a little video about kind of the Sacramento Kings draft and draft history. By the way, I completely neglected one of my favorite points from that video, that Vlade Divac just let Bogdanovic, the shooting guard, he let his contract lapse, basically. He let him be a free agent for just about nothing. Not even just about nothing, like literally nothing. And he definitely should have tried to trade him to a team that was looking for shooters. I feel like there was an ample supply this year, and it was just not really a smart move to let that contract lapse. Anyway, I said all I'm going to say about that. But before we get started, I think there's going to be a little bit of a change-up, kind of how this video is going to be a little bit more of a higher production quality, and I just wanted to go ahead and thank my dear friend, one of my closest friends for a long time, Alex May, for making these graphics for me. I know I definitely could have potentially made them. They look really good, so I don't think I maybe could have made anything that pristine, but I really, really, really appreciate that actually happening, like him making this for me, and I just wanted to go ahead and thank him for that. But today, our topic is actually going to be about how injuries really affect the way that the NBA playoffs are going to play out, have been playing out, and kind of their effect on history. And then kind of, I wonder if the details of this year will get lost in time when you look back and you see just the results. Will all of these individual things really be remembered? Last year when the Raptors won the championship, I think everyone will remember that KD and Clay were both injured for the pretty much entirety of that series, and the Raptors just did like a solid job clutching up everything. The Raptors are a good team. Well, I might get into the Raptors a bit later, but They stood no chance against that fully loaded Warriors team. And granted, no one stood a chance against those fully loaded Warriors teams. But, that's something that I wonder if in, 10 years it'll be like, no, Kawhi Leonard, he's amazing. He beat the Warriors. It's like, wait, but it's like Jordan beat the Lakers in his first championship run, but no James Worthy. So, I kind of just shrug your shoulders there. But the first players that I just want to go through, we've had a number of injuries in this playoffs, and they've really been affecting the series, some more than others. I made this list kind of before last night's games. Last night's games being Philadelphia, closing out the series. Well, today's the 25th, so, and the Lakers win them 3-1 in a complete blowout. But that actually ties into a little bit what I'm wanting to talk about. First off, we're just gonna go through it east west, and I'm gonna try to group them by their teams. Luka and Kristaps Porzingis. Luka Doncic is gonna be the first player we're talking about. He is getting ticky-tack injuries here or there. A lot of them, I think, are more significant than they are in the moment when, the next game fires up. I really did not expect Luka to play in Game 4, the game he hit a game winner. I really did not expect him to play. That injury looked like it was going to be something that would keep him out. But, when Kristaps Porzingis, and we'll talk about him in just a second, when Kristaps Porzingis is scratched, you really, if you're going to scratch your guy who's giving you 39.7 and 10 in Luka Doncic in the bubble, it's really not going to make sense to, you're basically just saying that, whatever happens this year is fine. Everybody's pretty sure they're not going to get fired, which I think Rick Carlisle's pretty confident. I think everybody is enjoying the way the team is, and they understand that if they were fully healthy, they'd be better, and they're going to be better next year regardless, more experience. But Luka has just been transcendent in the bubble. He's really realizing his full potential. I think the Suns feel dumb. The Kings feel dumb. The Hawks feel especially dumb. not it's Luka and Trey. You can say if it's Trey and Cam for Luka, which is what it ends up being, I think. If it's that, it's almost okay, right? Because Cam could potentially be a really good player for the Hawks one day, but it's hard to say if that's going to come true. But Luka would have been better than them, I think. Regardless, there's pretty much no defending in it. Travis Schlenk, maybe he knew Luka wasn't going to be too happy here. Getting him in Dallas is kind of like the perfect place. We will have to see how. History could never be rewritten. I don't know if Luka. I think Luka wasn't gonna play for the Suns or something. I feel like there was some discussion about something like that happening. I don't know if that's true or not. I just kind of remember that being kind of a buzz. Like, if you get drafted by the Suns, you just don't report, right? You just go back to your league. And I guess some players do that. Nikola Mirotic absolutely went back to EuroLeague like a beast. I love him for that, but kind of hate him as in the same vein. And then you got Kristaps Porzingis. That's his running mate. Kristaps putting up 31 points, 2.2 assists, 9.5 rebounds, and you lose this guy. And he's already scratched for Game 5. You lose it. Game 5 is going to be hard to win now, in my opinion. KP is their most consistent, 1 through 3 quarter scorer. I just don't know if Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith and Tim Hardaway Jr., if all these players can really carry them to the fourth quarter. Not having Kristaps Porzingis here is really going to be tough. Because I think everybody can agree at this point that you can count on Luka's clutch factor to come in and score a bunch of points in the fourth if it's within striking distance. The problem is that this team has a bit of a tendency to let things get out of hand. They also have a very weird tendency during the regular season to lose leads. So sometimes when they do get these leads in 1 through 3, they just completely blow them. Now, I know that that's kind of been solved a little bit in the bubble. Not solved, but I say solved in the sense that it's kind of not happening all over the place. Luka's a little bit more focused maybe, or I don't know. Kristaps Porzingis is like his most consistent plays out of the team. And it's funny we're talking about him now because he's injured. But like I said, it's going to really be interesting to see if the Mavericks can potentially steal Game 5, a really, really pivotal Game 5 from Playoff P and the Clippers. But the next player that I want to talk about is, one that I think a lot of fans don't really know too well, but it's Bogdanovic, the Bogdanovic that's not the one that rotted away on the Kings for absolutely no reason. We're talking about the forward European player who's they're both European. I don't know if he played. I don't know if one of them maybe played in college or not. I'm not giantly familiar with him, but I do know that the Bogdanovic on the Jazz averaged 20.2 points, 2.1 assists, and 4.1 rebounds. He's gonna be your second leading scorer on the Jazz. I don't think a lot of people really realize that, but Rudy Gobert is not really a scorer. Mike Conley's a little bit washed. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. He's been looking good, but we'll have to see how this game plays out. That's going to be tonight. I think this is a potential closing out of the series. If I'm not mistaken, for the Utah Jazz, that would be phenomenal for them. I would love to see Donovan Mitchell progress into the playoffs a little bit deeper. But it's going to be tough for them. I still really think that the Jazz have it, or that the Nuggets have a chance to win this whole series. I might have the series numbers a bit wrong. It might be 2-1, might be 2-2, might be 3-1. I know that the Jazz have won at least 2 games. That's all I can really guarantee. But anyway, we'll have to see because they're not going to be able to really beat the elite teams in the West, in my opinion, without having Bogdanovic. He was their extra firepower. He was their kick. He was their backup weapon. I mean, he could spray from three. Really, really going to be stretching the floor out, and that's really valuable to have. It doesn't work too well against kind of the elite teams. The trying to like rip out, because like you can't really rip Anthony Davis out. He's not really going to be a liability on the perimeter at all. But I just that guy is a real nightmare for teams like the Rockets. Bogdanovic, he really messes with their matchups because they want to go small, and they can go like half small, half big. They can go. The Jazz have a really, really versatile lineup, especially with him in the mix. Even without him, I still think the Jazz are a really good team. But I just don't think they have the guns to really progress any further. And I'll be proven to be wrong. Donovan Mitchell is really one big, huge gun. But we'll have to see how many bullets he's got left, really. I think that's what it's going to come down to. And the next guy I'm going to talk about is, former MVP, kind of somewhat washed in past years, or in recent years, Russell Westbrook. I say washed jokingly, but he's not averaging 30, 10, and 10 anymore. He's only averaging 24, 7.8, 6.3, which is still kind of amazing. Shout out Russell Westbrook for being an absolute Iron Man. I think he's missed something like 15 games in his whole career, maybe playoff games or something like that. This man never misses games. I know he's had more and more injuries, but he's getting older and older as well. So, it is what it is. We hope and pray for our team for our athletes to be healthy and not get injured. But Russell Westbrook hasn't played yet. He's allowed the series. He's really one of the main reasons that the series has gotten to 2-2 with the Thunder, which is hilarious, right? Russell Westbrook's potentially going to get eliminated by the Thunder. What do you do in that opinion? You fired D'Antoni for sure. And you say, okay, but James Harden and Russell Westbrook, that can still work, right? It's like, yes, but you're going to have to change some things, in my opinion. I don't know, they've really committed so hard to this small ball modern lineup, but eventually it's just going to have to be blown up. They're just going to have no choice. Like, you got the wrong running mate for him again, for James Harden again. I mean, it's just too hard to match him with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook wishes he was 4 or 5 feet, or 4 or 5 inches taller, so he could be a small forward. Because then he would be a perfect running mate for James Harden. But he doesn't. He's not. He's Russell Westbrook, but he's also amazing. He's a transcendent player, and he's absolutely going to impact the series whenever he comes in the Thunder Rockets. He is hungry. I know it. I know Russell Westbrook's temperament. I can just see him absolutely popping off in this series and in this playoffs in particular. I think, in my opinion, the Rockets are the third best team in the league right now, and they're not going to get eliminated in the first round. I'm just going to state that right here, right now. This is another one of those potential embarrassment moments. But when Russell Westbrook comes back in, the Rockets aren't losing to the Thunder. It's not happening. And this one is a really, really sad one. It just happened last night. Damian Lillard, he actually just had an MRI on his knee. I believe it was a right knee injury. Prayers out for Damian Lillard. He already had the finger injury. That's why he was on the list initially. But the finger injury I thought was going to maybe even prevent him from playing in game number 4. I was impressed that he came out. We also have CJ, who's injured on his team. We won't even bring him up because CJ's an Iron Man. He'll just play through the broken back, apparently. Cool with me, man, but doesn't it feel like they're going to have to blow this team up eventually? And Damian Lillard, I don't know what you do, man. You're one of the best players in the entire league. Do you really stay on the team that really has no chance to win a championship? I mean, the way the contracts are all set up right now, they're doing an excellent job of maximizing what they can maximize in the sense of what they actually have versus what they don't have. Like they made Carmelo Anthony a relatively valuable player. Hassan Whiteside really getting tons of great. Gary Trent. I mean, by the way, Gary Trent. Gotta love Gare Bear. All these players are playing extremely well. They got rocked by Trevor Ariza not coming. Trevor Ariza. Oh my gosh. Trevor Ariza is a bit washed probably. But I still think he would have been an impact player for them. The Rockets, when they lost Trevor Ariza, people were like, oh man, they just lost their chance for a championship. They were talking about him like they were talking about like Lamar Odom or someone like that. It was insane. People really love that guy. But, he's no longer a part of this squad. Carmelo Anthony has completely taken over his responsibilities. Probably for the best. That's all the injuries in the West. I guess I just want to wrap up by saying, Damian Lillard, I hope he plays just for the sake of basketball. He's a bubble MVP. But I think we've likely seen the last of Damian Lillard. So, sorry, I just wanted to get that out there before we moved on to the East. And the East has had less injuries just because, I don't know, the East is just always just less a little bit, feels like. Obviously there's impactful injuries, some more than others. Jonathan Isaac is a really big injury that people don't really talk about ever. Jonathan Isaac was in my opinion, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He didn't really have too amazing stats. Like, he was like 11.9 points, 1.9 assists, and 6.8 rebounds. But, like, he was a lockdown defender. He had a really kind of gruesome injury. Prayers up for Jonathan Isaac. He went to FSU, so I'm already a little bit of a fan of him. Just really... sad to see Jonathan Isaac get hurt because especially the Jazz. Especially because of the way that the Orlando Magic, the Jazz, the Orlando Magic are playing right now. They actually took a game off of the odds-on champ favorites, title favorites, the Bucks, and I think they had a good chance to see continued success. So the next player that I want to talk about that's been injured is the obvious Philadelphia 76ers forward Ben Simmons. It's just so depressing to see the Sixers get swept, especially when I made a video about them potentially being a powerhouse. Without Ben Simmons, the whole dynamic is different. Their transition offense is horrid. Their transition offense is horrid. Their transition defense is horrid. Their spacing gets slightly better, but turns out that if you don't actually have good floor spacing, okay floor spacing doesn't really matter. Kind of a bit of a oopsie, made a boo-boo there. Brett Brown fired, rightfully so. But I'll talk about them more. Ben Simmons, he was giving them 16.4, 8 assists a night, 7.8 rebounds. He was a really good rebounder, really good passer, and a decent scorer. And that scoring would have gone up in the postseason just because of the, predominance of the 2-on-2 game, the 1-on-1 game. This is how the NBA playoffs is won. It's won in the battles like that. It's just literally, can you skill check me on every position? And the 76ers last year, they legitimately could skill check you and say, yeah, we've got the better of X position right now. And you can't even, there's very few players that beat us even in one position in our five-man crew. The Raptors, to their credit, they have a deep, deep roster, and that was how they were really able to defeat the 76ers last year. And then, obviously, Jimmy Butler would have hit the first ever 7-game winner, but Kawhi Leonard had to hit the shot of, the millennia, one of my all-time favorite playoff moments. That's probably my favorite all-time playoff moment, to be honest. I don't know, I said I was going to go from least impactful to most impactful, and because it's a sweep, a lot of you will say that this was not impactful and that there was no possibility for this to be like a thing. But Domantas Sabonis, if he would have been in this series, if he would have played in every game, it would not have been a sweep. I will guarantee you that. They would have at least taken one game off of them. That's someone who could match up with Bam Adebayo, someone who could guard pretty much 5 out on the perimeter. He's agile enough. He can splash the ball. He's getting 18.5 points. You're running your offense through the guy. He's literally averaging 5 assists and 12.4 rebounds a game. This guy's an absolute monster. He was actually stuffing the stat sheet in a way that's just unfathomable to me. I mean, this guy's he's not going to be your best defender. That's why you have Miles Turner. This is the guy you literally ran your offense through, though. And him with Victor Oladipo really playing well, and Malcolm Brogdon potentially playing well. Malcolm Brogdon being like a third option guy when he's a second option guy, things get sketchy. They really started to rely on TJ scoring, and TJ scoring really wasn't doing it for him. Jimmy Butler disrespected his soul in the regular season and basically said, okay, TJ scoring, if we ever meet in the playoffs, it's actually just going to be a sweep because I hate you now. I know that he said there's no beef, but I just choose to carry on that narrative in my head because it makes me like the league more. You can't see, but I'm like pointing to the side of my head. But anyway, those are all the injuries that I wanted to talk about. Domantas Sabonis being the pinnacle of history-changing injury because it's so funny that the Heat will just sweep in the first round, even though a lot of those games were close, even though Domantas Sabonis wasn't even playing, so they had no matchup for Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo just ran rampant on him. I know he didn't have like the craziest scoring Bam, but when I mean run rampant, I mean like every time they needed a bucket, it was like, all right, Bam, just go in and get something. Who are they going to throw on? It's going to be Miles Turner. And it's like, okay. And it's like, Bam, okay, you really just like lock up. Make sure that nobody scores. And it's like, okay, Miami's defense is amazing. It's like nobody's scoring on me at all, ever. Bam Adebayo is my most improved player. Should not be Brandon Ingram. Bam Adebayo definitely deserves it. Brandon Ingram, good player, but they didn't make the playoffs. Bam Adebayo is actually transcending what he was thought of, as for his whole career, and I think he's turning into one of the best centers in the entire league. And I say this on the backdrop of Domantas Sabonis, so I'm sorry, Domantas, but I would love to see you in the playoffs. You're having a phenomenal season. Hope to see you next year, buddy. We'll see what the Pacers organization, what happens. I'm really intrigued to see all the postseason things that are going to happen. Even the games tonight could affect a lot of things. All right, so I've been Jackson Hester, and this has been Vindication Sports. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.